Hello and welcome to the British English Podcast, the show all about teaching you British culture and British English. And in today's episode, we have Chris from Instant English, who's back on the show to tell us about his adventures when he went to South America recently. He went to Brazil, Argentina, and then back to Brazil. And we'll talk about his cultural exploration throughout his experience in both countries. So, without further ado, let's get into the show with Chris from Instant English. Hello, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's 9:19 in the morning right now for me. You're back in Madrid. We don't share the same hour. Do we share the same time zone?
We don't know. We're here. It's 1 hour ahead. I think it's something to do with, fun fact, maybe if anyone's Spanish, they can correct me. When there was a dictator, Franco, in charge of Spain, he wanted to be more aligned with Nazi Germany or fascist Italy. So he put the clocks forward to kind of be more in line with them. So that's why Portugal is the same as England. But then Spain is 1 hour ahead, but then France is the same as England or something like that. Like it's a weird, it's kind of and that's why also Spanish people seem to like eat later because they actually eat at the same time as everyone else, but they're just an hour ahead. You know, like it's kind of, it's an
right.
odd fact.
Yeah, that is odd. So Franco was missing his sort of Third Reich sort of meetings, and he was like, missed it again. So
I think that was it. Yeah, he was like, nibbling on his lunch, and he was just like, they're calling me already. All right, okay. Well, I need to change the hours because I want to be more aligned with them.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's very confusing for his neighbouring countries and up and down. Yeah. Okay. Well, you got another hour in bed basically because of Franco, and
That's how it works.
yeah, you got another hour in your life. But yeah, normally I try to wake up a little bit, but I have woken up. I've got half my coffee down, but that morning fog is still slightly there for me. Are you a morning person?
I want to say yes, but I know I'm not. Like I really want to be. I like the lifestyle, like how it looks online, with the yoga in the morning and, the sun rising and having a banana on the beach, if you live near a beach. But it's not really. I'm a late riser, and then I normally do a lot of work in the evenings, like late at night, editing and, I don't know, emails and stuff. But I want to say, by the way, anyone listening, your mug is very cool. I do like it. It's very stylish.
Look at this. This I made. No, I didn't make.
Whoa.
I painted this.
Oh, very nice.
On a cute little pottery painting class with my wife.
Wow, if this all goes to shit, you can get into pottery.
Yeah, that could be the next business that I set up. Yeah, you said goes to shit. I was thinking goes what's the pears one? Goes pears up?
Pear-shaped.
No, pear-shaped. Goes pear-shaped. So you can either swear, you can see goes to shit, or goes pear-shaped, meaning goes bad. If your thing goes bad, if your business or idea goes bad. Did your trip to Argentina and Brazil go pear-shaped, Chris?
There was one particular point where it went very pear-shaped.
Oh dear. Oh, well, we will have to hear about that, but not yet. Let's start from the beginning, Chris. Okay. So Chris has already been on the show, but for listeners who might not have listened to that episode, could you give us a little background about yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Chris, and I'm from Oxford in the UK. Well, actually, I grew up just outside in a little village, so I had a very rural upbringing. And I studied in Manchester. And then after that, after I graduated, I moved to Japan and lived there for a while. and then after that, Peru for another 3 years, and then just teaching, by the way. And then when the pandemic started, I started making videos, and now that's my job, to make English-related videos.
Nice, yeah. That word "just," you said "just teaching." It's quite a sensitive one, isn't it? Because I don't know if I should say this on a podcast, but so my dad and my now mother-in-law, they met for the first time, and she's managed a hair salon for quite a few years. She's done a variety of jobs, and I think my dad knew this, and then he asked her, "Oh, so what do you do?" And she said, "I'm a hairdresser." And he said, "Oh, just a hairdresser," because in his brain he was thinking, like, "Oh yeah, you've done a few things. What are you doing at the moment?" And so that just sort of stung for her,
Sure,
and she was
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah." So it's an interesting one, because for your point of view, I think you're thinking like, I was doing this and I was doing this, and I've got a lot of things now. Like it's a real mixed bag of things, right? But before, you were just doing one thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was kind of referring to.
Yeah. So it's a stinger just sometimes. But anyway, thank you very much for that roundup. Yeah, you've travelled far and wide, and you've travelled even further recently. You've gone back over to South America, and that's why we're here to discuss your experience over there. What led you back to South America, Chris?
Basically, I made a few friends here from a place called Cordoba in Argentina, and they all seem to be from Cordoba. Every Argentinian I meet in Barcelona is from Cordoba, which is fine. They're very nice, and their families come to visit. And on one occasion, a friend's brother came, and we got on quite well. And we carried on talking online, and he just kept telling me, like, if you ever want to come, you can stay at my place. And then one time I took up that offer and decided I'm coming. And I went to Cordoba, lived with him for 2 months in the end, roughly. It was supposed to be just 1 month, but then he sort of evacuated his flat for me after 2 weeks. Maybe
you were that intolerable. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. The deal was that we would share the place. He has 2 bedrooms and an office, and we were kind of sharing it and working in the same office. And then he just said, "Well, I'm going to go live with my family," which was only down the road, and they have a huge sort of family house. And then I was just like, I was stuck with a whole apartment to myself. It was horrible, as you could imagine.
Had you bought a return ticket?
No, I was just winging it. I was just sort of going with the flow.
Gosh, that's a nice. I really like that. I mean, don't want to sound like a married man stuck in his marriage, but I haven't done that kind of sort of one-way trip since what, 23, 24? Wow, that's nice. It's a nice feeling.
It is, yeah. It's nice. You feel like freedom.
Yeah,
to some degree. Not totally, but the placebo of freedom.
Yes. So often when I'm saying I'm going to go somewhere, my parents say, "Oh, you got to go see Auntie so and so, or you go to see cousin blah blah blah, or my best friend from then," and I feel very uncomfortable following up with that. This is obviously your friend that you made beforehand.
Yeah.
But do you feel comfortable reaching out to people to stay at their accommodation?
I think this was this the first time, I suppose. So yeah, maybe it does feel a little bit awkward. But when they mention it a few times, you feel obliged, like, okay, I'm going to take the offer. They're more. I think maybe it's more of a South American thing where they're more insistent. Like, you can definitely come. Just reminding you can still come.
Yeah.
And as a British person, it feels like I don't want to bother anyone, but
yeah,
I think you kind of have to ignore that Britishness and just just accept people for being genuinely happy to receive you. Whereas maybe in the UK we might say that, but not actually mean it.
That's the thing, I think, that I'm getting at. Like, we say one thing, but we mean another. And it's hard to detect whether they actually want you to come.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, I think in this case it was true.
I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not saying it wasn't.
The worst therapy session ever.
Yeah. And then he left the flat for some reason for a month and left me to myself and my own thoughts. So you went to Argentina for a couple of months, and you did Brazil for a couple of weeks before that, right?
Yeah. It was kind of like 1 week in the beginning, and then I went back for another week in Brazil, just because when you enter Argentina, they make you purchase some kind of flight out of the country. So I had to get something to show that I'm leaving at some point, just anywhere. Even when I did go back after the second time in Brazil, I booked like a cheap flight to Uruguay, just to kind of, like, it was £40, and okay, I'm going to lose that money, but I need something to show that I'm going to leave. Yeah.
I'll be out of your hair in 4 weeks, kind of thing. I'll be off to Uruguay. Don't worry, guys.
Nobody wanted me there. The guy left the flat. The government's like, when are you leaving? But it's okay.
Lovely feel. Yeah,
Pretty
okay.
cool.
So you did Brazil like a little sandwich trip, kind of. Or Argentina was the meat, and then Brazil was the bread. Okay, so let's go to Argentina firstly. Did you say you had already been to Argentina?
Yeah, I went to Buenos Aires in November last year, just for a week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just for a week, right. First impressions of Argentina then, and then thinking about it as you went this time?
Yeah, it's hugely different. I think it's just one of those things when you think about capital versus another city, right? Like if you compare London with Liverpool or something, it's hugely different. And that's kind of the same thing with Buenos Aires and Cordoba. You know, I like Buenos Aires. I feel like it's so exciting, and there's a real nice vibe there. You know, if you feel like with the buildings, you're lost in time. You know, it's very sort of not European looking, but they call it the Paris of South America. So it kind of has that vibe with the aesthetics. But then the people are very sort of they're just doing stuff, and there's a lot of music. The music scene's really happening, and not to sound too boomer, but it's very very lively. And with Cordoba, the people are really nice. I suppose that's the easiest way I can put it. The people are so nice. Probably the salt of the earth.
Ooh,
if I can say that.
That's nice. What does that mean, Chris?
Yeah. Just, I suppose, the best. I feel like for me, it's like the best quality people. Like they look out for other people. They welcome you. They make you feel comfortable. But at the same time, it's also really nice. Not on a different note as well. They kind of welcome you in, but they also want you to make fun of them. Like they want to break that barrier of closeness pretty quickly. So it's really nice in that sense.
Yeah.
That's the both worlds.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Were there any parts of it that you found challenging in comparison to your life in Madrid?
I live in Barcelona.
Oh, sorry.
But
apologies.
just because go with the flow of it.
Yeah.
But,
God, I saw some instinct. Did you
place.
always live in Madrid? Barcelona. Have you always lived in Barcelona?
Yeah.
Never Madrid.
Never even been to Madrid.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll cut that out and I'll go again. So were there any challenges that you found in comparison to, your life in Barcelona?
I think when it comes to Cordoba, for example, the big challenge was just getting around. My friend was living a little bit outside the city, and it's very car-based. It's more of a car city. Right. I mean, obviously you have the center of the city which you can walk around, but to get around, it's more you need a car. There's no metro or anything like that. So in Barcelona, it's very easy to go from one neighborhood to another. Bicycle, on the metro, it's really easy. But in Cordoba, it was just taxis all the time, or my friend was driving me. So it's kind of like, if you want to pop to the shop or something, you have to, or like, do your laundry, you have to kind of get a taxi, and it's a bit awkward.
What, you have to put your laundry in the taxi?
No, I take so I was washing it at his parents' house, but then I thought, okay, I'm being a bit of a burden here, so I'm really taking liberties. They're feeding me, they give me shelter, they're washing my clothes. I mean, they might as well just, give me money as well, but so...
Chris helped me think of a great phrase: give him an inch and he'll take a mile. I'll explain it in the resources, but yes, that's seemingly what Chris is implying, but I'm sure it's not. Many miles
were taken. So I decided after a while, like, I'm going to try and do my own thing a little bit, So
that's good. Yeah. So, but still, so you had to take the bag of clothes, dirty clothes, in the taxi.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to sit in front as well because they have a bit of a beef with the local taxis there, the Ubers or the other sort of application taxis. Yeah. They have a bit of disagreement with the local taxis. They're called remis. They're like green, and so you have to kind of sit in the front, so it looks like it's your friend or your family that are driving you rather than a taxi, because maybe something could happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't think anything actually would, but that's what they always make you sit in the front.
Yeah, and when you say they, you're meaning the applications like the Ubers, for example.
Yeah, the Uber driver who arrives, I
they
tried
will
to sit in the back
ask
a few
you.
Times naturally.
Yeah.
They like open. They actually just open the door. They open the door like, no, they're here.
Is that also just a friendly thing?
No, they did mention that.
Like
you need to sit in the front.
Yeah. I don't like you, but I need you to be there for my security.
Put the clothes in the back.
Did you put the clothes in the back?
Yeah.
Because I'm imagining just your dirty underwear right under your face and right next.
Oh, good.
Anyway, so getting around was a little bit more tricky for you in comparison to Barcelona with all of the public transport. That makes sense. It's a very car-based city, Cordoba. Okay. So Cordoba, am I right in remembering quite a few students who were from there would say it was quite a university city?
Yeah, right? Big time.
And it's got quite attractive people, would you say?
There are a lot of attractive people, annoyingly attractive. Yeah,
annoyingly attractive. Yeah.
So what's in the water? What's going on? Is it the alfajores they're eating or something? What makes them so attractive? It's a huge student city, massively student based, or there's a lot of students around. Interestingly, I noticed it's kind of like from the northern. A lot of them are from the northern cities that are kind of bordering Bolivia and Chile. And then I suppose on the coast, everyone kind of goes to Buenos Aires, I imagine. So like in Cordoba, the students that I bumped into and met were from places like Salta, Tucumán, Catamarca. So these sort of smaller cities close to the Andes, basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so you're saying that those people are quite pretty?
No, yeah. Well, I think just in general, people those and in Cordoba were very pretty. Yeah, they were very easy on the eye.
Easy on the eye. Very nice. Yes. Okay. Did you get to go out much when you were there, or was it just work?
No, it was a working holiday, so I wanted to embrace the holiday part of that as well. So I went out a few times. I had a lot of asados, which I would translate as barbecues, but they really hate that. when you say,
okay.
"Oh yeah, barbecue." Yeah, I don't know what's the difference, but they hate the word barbecue, and I'm like, well, we don't know what asado is in English, so I have to translate if I'm going to talk in English.
Is there any long-winded way you could translate it more accurately?
I just think the trans not it's just fancier, you know. It's just like it's more precise, different cuts of meat, and it's not just bangers and steak, you know.
Yeah.
It's more like they have specific, they have ribs and they have different cuts of meat. They have one called mata hambre. I don't know where that is on the cow, but they all know their favorite cuts, and it's all like very precise, which is, great. It's very impressive. But for me, it's just like, just give it to me. I'm gonna eat it. I love it. So, so I had a few of those, maybe 8 of those. So it was quite. They can be. It's interesting because they can be anywhere between something family related, maybe someone leaving the country and you're going to say goodbye, so you have an asado, all the way to just getting drunk with your friends. Like it can be a bit of a party, but with food along the way. So it's just very different depending on who's there, really. Yeah. So
yeah. So would you say that most of the socializing that you do in the UK, I mean, it depends on the age that you are, but I would say most of my socializing is around drink and not really about the food as much. I mean, as you age, you tend to go to dinners rather than nights out, which is obviously food. But generally, if we're having a gathering, it's more about the drink. And then you're like, oh, there's a little bit of food. Great. Okay.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I think that's something that I've gone through that process of getting used to more socializing around food and maybe loving food more than I used to when I lived in the UK. It was more like when I lived in the UK, food was just energy or something to line my stomach, which just means something to kind of prepare my stomach for alcohol. And then you would go out and drink with your friends. Whereas, my experience in Lima, in Peru, kind of taught me the opposite about, going with friends to eat and then you can drink more.
Yeah,
so it's the same in Argentina.
Yeah, I remember you saying how they would, in Peru, they would talk about their next meal whilst eating their current meal.
That's true, yeah, very true. Yeah.
Do you do that yet?
Not yet, no. I probably still just think about I do think about the next meal, like, what will I have later? Kind of something different from chicken. I'll have some meat or something. So yeah, not quite. No, I'm not quite there yet. It's in progress.
And the people that you were spending time with in Cordoba, were they heavy drinkers?
Not really. My friend who invited me there, he didn't actually drink that much. He would just, cause when we went out, he would just have a few drinks and then he would drive. So he would just be happy just being in the moment. He was a bit of a heavy smoker, to be fair. He did like to smoke a lot. So I think that was his thing. And I was there with my Fernet. Would you know Fernet is like the liquor from Argentina?
Okay.
It's like a black liquor. It kind of looks a bit like Jägermeister, but it doesn't taste like it. But the sort of the consistency looks similar, like that kind of dark black.
Right.
And then you drink it with Coke.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking, is he having a Jägermeister-like drink straight whilst his friend is smoking like a chimney?
Kind of, with a dash of Coke.
With a dash of Coke, yeah. Add a bit of Coke and there we go. Okay. So, did you get up to any crazy nights when you were there, or you were just quite sensible but alongside a smoker the whole time?
No, I did have a couple of crazy nights. I wouldn't say it was like all the time because we're both in our 30s, so it was kind of balanced. So yeah, I think maybe there were 3 very large nights, let's say, very big ones. And then apart from that, sometimes we might go to a bar or just sort of have, some kind of night out, but not big night. But we went to a few like electronic nights. Okay. And those were the ones that kind of last until 7 a.m. And at the moment, it seems to be a massive thing I also noticed this on social media when I was there, because my social media started to show me videos from Argentina when I was living there, and it's massive. The afters, everything is, because they speak in Spanish, but they use the word after or afters.
Really?
So it's like the for me, I noticed that the afters seem to be more popular than the actual party. Everyone's always like talking about the afters, or like, oh, this is what happened at the afters, which starts at like 7 a.m. or whatever, 6 a.m. and then goes on until midday. Oof. Something crazy. Yeah,
God, I haven't been in that kind of time frame of a night out for about 8 years, I'd say. Are you able to enjoy it as a 30-plus-year-old man? Is it still the same as a 20?
Once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
Once in a while, yeah. Like say, there was probably one night we went to a place called La Fábrica, the factory, and that was until 7 a.m. And then I was pushing my friend, like, let's do the afters, because, I wanted to embrace the whole culture. Yeah. And he was like, no, we're not going. And I was like, and then he sort of, he was able to distract me with McDonald's. So he was like, well, let's get McDonald's first. And then I had some McDonald's, and then, you drift into drowsiness and, barbecue sauce and whatever. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to, maybe you're right. Let's just go home.
Yeah.
So that was 7 a.m. or whatever. So that was pushing it already.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, that's understandable. Were there any obvious differences, would you say, in the way that they party in comparison to what you remember from back home?
Yeah, a lot more dancing. Lot of dancing. There's actually a very cool thing that I've discovered, a new genre of music in Cordoba, called cuarteto.
Okay.
It's a bit like cumbia, but more poppy, like sort of local music, not folk music, but it might seem folk music to us Brits, because it sounds a bit like in that way, but it kind of sped up and you can dance to it. So yeah, that was really cool, and going to places where they kind of played that was really fun, because you can kind of get away with dancing. In other words, you can be a terrible dancer, but then you can kind of do it. Cuarteto, like you can kind of dance to it. It's kind of like shuffling a little bit.
Okay, so it's a good genre for a beginner or a person that doesn't feel like they have great rhythm.
I mean, yeah, I think you can wing it a lot easier than, let's say, salsa or I don't know, bachata or another sort of type of dance. You need to know what you're doing. Like, you need to know where you're going, and with that one, you can kind of just freestyle, and you just sort of, as long as you have enough confidence, you're like, oh yeah, he kind of knows. He knows what's going on.
I see. Yes, that does make sense. Right. That sounds good fun.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, that was really good. So it's nice that people kind of, they get up and they don't mind, dancing or anything like that. And it's more of a sort of inclusive atmosphere, rather than sometimes at the techno events, maybe in the UK that I remember, or these dance music events, you're kind of in your bubble, just enjoying it. Whereas when you're going to an event with that kind of music, you're more in a group, you're more like dancing with each other and having fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what do you remember from your eight years ago?
Well, I mean, you're making me think of the time that I spent in Santiago in Chile, and they were they had like 15-piece bands and just such a lively atmosphere. It was mainly salsa, I think, that everyone was dancing to, but it was just a million miles away from like the club scene or going out in the UK. It's just like imagine. Chalk and cheese, like completely different. And everyone's so passionate about the music first and foremost. Whereas in the UK, I think everyone's there to have a good time, but it's more about, I don't know what is it? What's the primary reason that people go out? I guess to get drunk. I think that's it, isn't it?
Really to let loose, isn't it? Whereas
To let loose. We will be leaving the free version of this episode here for today. But if you did want to continue listening to this conversation, then head over to the BritishEnglishPodcast.com, where you can sign up to the Premium Podcast or the Academy. The Premium Podcast gives you the ad-free version with transcripts, a full glossary and flashcards, whereas the Academy gives you all of that plus a whole lot more, including vocab video lessons, writing assignments, weekly Zoom classes, and you can also get paired with a new speaking partner of a similar level to yours each month to really get your speaking practice in. But if you were just here for the free version of this episode, then I thank you very much. Congratulations for getting to the end of this part, and I hope to see you back here next week for another episode. I've been your host, Charlie, on the British English Podcast.